The alley reeked of damp concrete and rot. Street lights flickered overhead, their sickly yellow glow revealing a single black cat perched on the cracked pavement. Its fur was matted, as though soaked in oiland dust, and its eyes burned like coals dredged from some infernal hearth. I stopped dead in my tracks, heart hammering, as it fixed me with that merciless stare. In that instant, the air itself seemed to congeal into something thick and fetid, as though the night had exhaled its own rancid breath. The cat's whiskers twitched. A low, rasping meow escaped its jaws, less a sound and more a promise of something terrible. It arched its back, claws scraping the asphalt, and I felt an electric chill run down my spine. When it turned and slunk away, each step was silent, but the echo of its presence lingered like a stain, weaving itself into my skin. I hurried home, hands shaking, blood pounding in my ears. 3 nights later, I awoke to a crash. My favorite coffee cup lay shattered on the floor, its milky porcelain splinters stained scarlet, where deep scratches had scored the rim. I lived alone, but now I wasn't sure. Footsteps echoed on the stairs, heavy and deliberate, although nobody was there. My ankle twisted, I collapsed, sharp pain searing through my leg as if the darkness itself had conspired to trip me. That night, I swore I heard whispering, a voice so low it sounded buried beneath the walls, as if the bricks themselves were speaking. When I forced my eyes open, the window beyond my bed frame was smeared with something oily, and black-white paw prints clawed into the glass. And there, in the gloom, was the cat. Its mouth curved into an impossible grin, rows of teeth glinting. Its breath was hot and fetid, smelling of decayed fish and something far fouler. I could almost taste rot. I bolted the windows and shuttered every door, but sleep was a distant memory. Each hour dragged me deeper into fevered nightmares of glowing eyes stalking me through every room, of claws gouging my reflection from the mirror, of a silent stalker crouched at the foot of my bed, watching, waiting. Now, every time I glimpse a shadow slipping beneath the street lamps, I know it's only a matter of time before those burning eyes find me again. And when they do, I fear it won't be just misfortune they bring, but something far more primal and hungry. The cat didn't wait long. I think it knew I was nearing the edge. My every waking moment spent listening for its approach. It showed itself one final time, at the stroke of midnight, as the clock's chime echoed through the hollow silence of my apartment. I didn't hear it at first, just a soft scrape, like nails dragging against metal. Then it spoke. Not a meow, not a whisper, but words. Clear, guttural, and laced with something unearthly. It's time. I froze. My breath caught in my throat as it emerged from the shadows, darker than the night itself, its fur writhing as if alive. The glow of its eyes seared into mine, pulling me into a cold, endless abyss. My body wouldn't move, no matter how much I willed it. I was rooted to the spot, helpless under its predatory gaze. Then, I understood. This wasn't a creature of flesh and bone. It wasn't even a cat. It was a harbinger, a vessel for the thing that had been creeping closer to me. Since that first night in the alley, the walls around me began to pulse, twisting as if I were trapped inside something organic, something alive. The smell of rot, acrid and suffocating, filled my lungs as the edges of my vision darkened. The cat opened its mouth, impossibly wide, its grin stretching beyond what seemed possible for anything living. And then, it swallowed the room. I didn't feel myself. Falling would have suggested gravity, or some understanding of direction. This was different. I was consumed, pulled into that endless, yawning darkness beyond its grin, where cold claws of despair sank deep into my chest. There was no sound, no light, only the sensation of being unraveled, piece by piece, as if my very existence were being devoured. My thoughts weren't mine anymore. They scattered like ash, whispers carried on a wind I couldn't feel. And then, just as suddenly, it was quiet. I wasn't in the room anymore. I was standing in the alley, the same cracked pavement beneath my feet, the same flickering street lights buzzing faintly overhead. But something was wrong. The air tasted thick, metallic. My fingers twitched, stiff and unfamiliar. And when I looked down at my hands, they weren't mine, they were claws. My reflection stared back at me from a puddle near my feet, 2 burning eyes glowing like smoldering coals. Above me, perched on a ledge. Another figure appeared, watching me with the same fiery eyes. Its voice echoed in my head, not guttural or low, but my voice, displaced and unhinged. "It's your turn." And then I understood. I wasn't the chased anymore. I was the hunter. The realization pulsed through me like a second heartbeat, alien and insistent. I tried to cry out, to scream, but the only sound that escaped my throat was a low, guttural growl. The alley seemed to twist and bend unnaturally. Walls shifting closer, shadows writhing as though alive. The figure above me leapt down a fluid, inky motion, and as it landed, its fiery eyes locked onto mine. It grinned, and in that grin was the weight of eternity, the endless cycle I was now part of. The world around us seemed to hum with new energy, a cruel force binding me to this dark purpose. My claws flexed without my control, scraping against the ground. Somewhere deep inside, my mind shrieked, but it was distant, almost silenced entirely by the primal hunger now overtaking me. The older figure turned, its silhouette melting into the shadows. But I didn't follow. I felt my body crouch, something instinctual whispering in the back of my mind. Below the flickering street lamps, a lone figure entered the alley, walking briskly. They paused, sensing something, their breath visible in the heavy, unnatural chill that hung in the air. My new senses sharpened at every sound, every movement, their scent filling my nose like smoke. My burning eyes never wavered, and neither did the grin I now wore. I could hear them whispering to themselves, confusion curling into fear. They turned, ready to leave. But it was too late. My body moved before my mind could protest. Silent, swift, I stepped from the shadows. Their heads snapped toward me, eyes wide, breath hitching as they caught sight of the glowing coals. Where human eyes should have been, of the grin that stretched far too wide. I could feel it now, the cycle tightening like a noose, the relentless hunger shutting out all reason. They stumbled back, their shaky voice breaking the silence. "Who's there?" But no words came from me, only the guttural growl, low and primal. I lunged, and the last shred of who I had been dissolved into the night. The world around me folded into chaos, darkness and light swirling together in a fractal storm. But through it all, I felt a pulse, ancient and irresistible, driving me forward. The figure stumbled again, their terrified breath echoing loud in the twisted silence of the alley. My grin stretched wider, something inside me reveling in their panic, feeding off it like nectar. They turned to run, their shoes scraping against the cracked pavement, but I was faster. A shadow among shadows, he moved before they could take a second step. My claws raked the air, and for a split second, my reflection caught in their widening eyes. It wasn't anger I saw or even delight. It was the hollow, tormenting truth of what I was. And then, the figure was gone. In the aftermath, the pounding quiet endured, as if the alley itself held its breath. I didn't feel remorse. I didn't feel anything, only the insatiable hunger twisting deeper into my core. Overhead, the black sky seemed to shift, a constellation of burning eyes blinking into place. Somewhere, far away, the faint scrape of claws on stone echoed. Another would come, and another after that. It didn't matter anymore. I was no longer mortal, no longer human. I was the cycle now, and the hunt would never end. The sky twisted above me, shifting like liquid shadow, and I could feel the presence of something vast and endless, watching and waiting. My claws flexed, the hunger pulsing louder now, filling every corner of my being. As I melted back into the shadows, the alley seemed to whisper, its cracks bleeding an oily darkness that seeped toward me. Somewhere ahead, another figure moved, their steps hesitant, their breath sharp with unease. I didn't think, didn't hesitate. The instinct was overwhelming, a force that propelled me forward with silent precision. I was nothing but the hunt now, a part of the endless void that stretched beyond time and light. Shadows grew thicker, consuming everything in their path, and as I moved closer, the echoes of my low, guttural growl reverberated in the air. Deep inside, the faintest trace of my old self flickered, but it was quickly drowned beneath the storm of primal hunger. The cycle continued, and I was its willing vessel. It would never stop. The shadows enveloped me entirely, folding over like a heavy, suffocating blanket. As I came closer to the figure, they paused, sensing the shift in the air. The way the darkness seemed to breathe and move of its own accord. I could hear their heart pounding a frantic, desperate rhythm that fed the hunger within me. I no longer had control. The thing I had become lunged forward, silent and deadly, and in the instant before impact, I saw their eyes widen, their lips form a prayer or a scream, but it didn't matter. The hunger consumed them as it had consumed me. When it was over, the silence returned, thicker than before, pressing against the crumbling walls of the alley. A puddle nearby rippled, and my reflection stared back. Those same burning eyes, that stretched, unnatural grin. No regret, no